Hey guys, welcome back to Astro-Land. Today I'm going to be working on the fifth and final area, Volcania. So this area changed themes recently because it was going to be more alien based, and it was going to be kind of like another version of Nova Kingdom. But I got myself thinking, and I was looking around with some for more ideas and looking around, and I stumbled upon Tokyo Disneyland again and Tokyo Disney Sea, and I was looking at their mysterious island, and so I was like, okay, so it's Jules Verne, so I might as well just jump in and do some steampunk stuff. So that's kind of what the direction went for, was steampunk. So the idea was to build a seaport with an actual entrance. So this is like the first, you can say, like legit land entrance, because the other lands don't really have like entrances per se, because I really didn't make a hub like I would like if it was Disneyland. So I kind of made it like a half hub. It was kind of an interesting way I went with that. I could have made an entrance to Argon Outpost, but I didn't. You have to go through the kingdom to go to the Argon Outpost, or you can go through Capital City to go to Argon Outpost. So this is kind of like the first time doing an actual like full-fledged entrance. And so here's a steampunk type of thing. So also I felt like with an entrance, put a bathroom and a vending machine in for, I don't know, like a staple, kind of like a utility. So I feel like when you build a building, it should have some utility in it, because I can just build buildings just for decoration, but I feel like sometimes it's a waste of space. I've noticed in this build in general that I have a lot of empty space, and it's kind of concerning for me, because I was like, well, I'm just building a park just to look pretty, but I also want to make it functional, because I want to make this park work if you play this with money, because that's kind of the idea, is to make it work. So I'm planning on adding some attractions or more flat rides in some areas, because I feel like there's too much empty space. But maybe the empty space is okay, because it's for atmosphere and environment. See, I'm still toying on that, and I don't know what to do with that yet, so I'm going to jump around with it. I mean, with this video up right now, this is going to be a two-parter for Volcania, because I did a lot of work on this land. This land actually, I think, is the most like scenery heavy. No, Nova Kingdom is scenery heavy as well, but yeah, this is going to be a two-parter. So this is part 7, goes into part 8. I even talked about what I'm working on, because I'm just trying to remember what I need to. There's so much going on in this land in general. So here's just a simple, I don't know, it's a mechanical tower of some sort. So pipes, copper, green is usually the colors you go for doing sci-fi, or not sci-fi, steampunk. And then I made a iron grate go across the walkway. It's kind of like a scaffolding. Oh my gosh! And I put the sign Volcania there, and this kind of gets me into the mood, because usually when you look at an empty map, because this area has been empty the longest, I put water down and I just left it. And I kind of made the monorail where it is, and I didn't move it. I was going to move the station maybe down the line, but that didn't happen. I kept where the station is, because I feel like the stations now, I have 4 stations for the monorail. I feel like they have a perfect distance from each other, so that the monorails pick up passengers and disembark, and then the next train in the station behind it also does the same thing. So it's kind of like it's almost, well, efficient. It's almost very what's the word, regardless, it's talking about a monorail. I should be talking about the sign. So here's the sign for Volcania. Now the sign is made of walls, and I use the window piece turned around as my secondary border. And then this is a cool technique if you want to make signs. It's really, really helpful, because the window piece is very versatile in getting into those small spaces you want, or you want to make like a billboard. It's a really cool way to do it. I do it all the time. And if you want to get rid of the windows on the back, because there's the window print, you can just take more windows and flip them around and kind of squish them together and make like a little plank. The word Volcania, I respell it because I felt like the U was weird. Because that's how Tokyo Disney Sea spells Volcania, or I think the book of 20,000 Leagues spells it VUL, and I think VOL looks better because it's like the spelling of volcano. I don't know, I just think that's weird. So I rechanged that later in another build. Here is prep work for where the volcano's going to go. Because this is called Volcania, I need a volcano. So to give myself some structure and to give myself some measurements of where the monorail is, I built a very quick tunnel out of scenery. It's black, it's very simple, and I made the tunnel to make sure that I don't run into the monorail when I place scenery around it, and to give myself a structure or like a boundary of where to build, and it makes it easier. It made it very easy that I built it because there's a roller coaster that goes there on the volcano. But first I need to get my bases down. Would be built the train station or the monorail station for Volcania. So this was just an experiment, just kind of messing around with roof pieces. And this station kind of would follow the same suit as the other stations, very long, maybe with one tower usually. So that's kind of what I did here too, and it's more elevated. So, I mean, well, none of the track changes elevation, first of all. The track stays at one elevation the entire route, because I feel like I don't need to go up and down. It's a monorail, it's supposed to be up in the air. So, this was just kind of Victorian-esque looking building. So I before I worked on this land, I researched a whole bunch of things off of Google. I researched some pictures off for Disney Sea. So, I mean, especially Tokyo Disney Sea has a lot of steampunk stuff. And also there's some concept art out there on Google for Discovery Land. That was supposed to be like a sci-fi steampunk land for Disneyland a long time ago, but that got shelved. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff for steampunk stuff. It's not necessarily steampunk, this is more Jules Verne. See, I want to call Jules Verne as a subgenre of steampunk in a way. So, in this build, I wanted to stick with maybe more pillars, like stone pillars, and there's a balcony for the station. Nothing crazy, but it is different. Each station had its own personality if you look at each land. So I do appreciate that I could pull that off. To get rid of supports, I use this tree stump as usual. Tree stump's always a good way to get rid of supports that I don't necessarily need. The supports for the rest of the pathway, I could have removed them with stumps, but I felt like that would have been too much work and kind of, I don't know, I would have had to build custom supports for everything. I didn't feel like I needed to do that necessarily. Because it's the same idea with doing tile roofing for like a Spanish mission. Do I want to do all that tile roofing for one building, or do I have to do it for every single thing? And sometimes that takes too much time out of my day, and I'd rather work on more like more important things, like another ride or a roller coaster or things like that. You can see on to the right hand side I built a Ferris wheel that doesn't live there, that actually moves to somewhere else. Over here, I always feel that when you build land, you need to build a food facility of some sort, so I built very simple backstage path, 2 restaurants of bubble tea and Chinese food, and then my depot, and connected that to the main depot with the pipes. And then I'm going to build, it was going to be one giant building, and then it evolved into 2. Usually that happens when I build. I have an image in my head of, oh, okay, it's going to be one giant building. Nope, and then it just transforms into 2, because I feel like sometimes it's too big, or it just I don't know, just evolves. Building evolves, and let that happen sometimes. If you're working on something, let it evolve, change the color, change the look of it, or you change the walls or something. So I knew that going through to this building, I wanted like a giant dome type Coliseum looking top, like the Capitol building. and this one worked out. I liked how this one worked. And then I would do, yeah, this was a blue building because I felt like there was too much gold and green going around. So a little bit of blue splashed in there is kind of nice. Usually with steampunk, you do like darker, grittier colors of brown, black, gold. What other good colors? Maroon, purple, like a dark maroon purple. So that's like Jules Verne. Or I'm thinking of like Captain Nemo's ship and his velvet seating. That's also what was running in my mind too, just working on this stuff. Yeah, nothing like... You've seen this before from me. You've seen steampunk before, so it's nothing like new I would necessarily give here. I did some different pillar stuff. I did some windows on this one, and then I copied this this cylinder ring thing on the dome from Brimstone Peak campaign level. So I like that technique. I think it's really cool. When building this building, there was too much green again. I like to contrast it with another color, so gold was the other color to contrast back and forth. Because I felt like if you do too much of the same color, it kind of like drags its personality out. It's not there. It's just like, I don't know, not showing itself perfect in my eyes. So I change the color every so often. I changed the color of this dome like 3 times. So don't be afraid of changing colors. Always a good thing to do. Change colors, experiment. Yeah, never be afraid to experiment. That's always been a struggle for me in the beginning, was being afraid to experiment. Nah, just experiment, see what happens. So again, with steampunk, pipes are always a good thing to go for. They go across the building, they go across the roof, go up and down the walls, they go into a machine somewhere. I didn't put gears on these buildings. I could later because I'm still doing final touches on the park right now. Yeah, the park's coming to an end. I'm a little, I'm a little scared that I'm finishing this project already, and I really don't want to because it's been a fun project. I still have some couple things to finish up. But regardless, here on top is not necessarily air conditioning vents. I wouldn't say they're ducts. They're more like pipes and cable. And then the flag, when I didn't realize I put down the flag, it's matched the color as Nova Kingdom. So I need to remind myself to stay away from colors that match the other lands. But each land has a common thread. They all have domes in them, so that's the common thread, which is interesting how that happened. The atmosphere, well, we're going to skip over to some of the bigger stuff that we're going to work on. So finally, we're going to start working on some of the mountain and the roller coaster. So the first thing first was the mountain had to be a completely different color than a dark black, like volcanic rock, because I already used that rock color in Argonne Outpost. So I went for a more brown, muddy looking rock face. This is like the same color this is the color I pulled from Disney Sea's Mysterious Island. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's the color of their mountain, or Mount Prometheus it's called. So I kind of pulled that inspiration from that directly. So I liked that color, and I thought that my monorail needed like a copper iron bridge to go across. So I felt that was a perfect opportunity to build it into it leads it into the tunnel into the volcano, and then a pathway underneath it would suspend from the bridge into the next area. So I think this was a cool idea to do this. It pulled off pretty nicely, actually. I think this is the first time I've ever built I don't know what type of bridge this is called. A truss bridge, I think? This is the first time I've ever, I think, built a bridge like this for Parkitect. I mean, they're not that hard to build. They're actually quite simple. You do cross sections, and then you do beams, and it turns out to be like this cool looking bridge. I should sustain it a little bit in the color, actually. Come to think of it, to make it a little bit old. Maybe some rust marks. Ooh, rust marks. How would I pull that off? How would I do that? Ah, something to think about, something to test later. Doing my normal support killing with stumps in the ground, in the water, because I feel like those supports are kind of ugly. And then I did simple ironwork to kind of suggest that's being supported by more cables and or iron struts of some sort. And then on to building the coaster for the volcano. So the coaster is a wooden inverted or inverting wooden coaster. I felt like this worked out really well because I wanted the wooden structure of the wooden coaster and then have the ability to do loops and corkscrews. And I feel like when it does the corkscrew part, it looks like train rails or something. I also like the idea of having the wooden structure because it looks like supports that like they built it upon the mountain or the volcano. And this actually turned out really well. I did this once before a long time ago in, I think, beta when Parkitect did not have the mine train coaster, and I used a wooden coaster as my mine train ride, and I built a mine train roller coaster out of a wooden coaster for an experiment. It was a long time ago, and because it worked out because the rails look like train tracks. It's a really cool idea. So this is kind of the same idea here too. So this coaster is not necessarily realistic at all. This is more confined in space, and it's not very big, but it has enough thrills that it does a half loop into a corkscrew, then a corkscrew over the station into a brake run to finish. So I don't think this is necessarily realistic, and you don't get to see most of this ride at all because I do cover it up completely in rock, and it's a volcano, so most of it is going to be inside a volcano, and you'll see that in the second video. Because if I put that time lapse in this video, this would probably been an hour long, and I don't think that's a long time to watch. So I scaled it down, cut it back. It's going to be in the next video. So just testing out some ideas, loops and things like that. But this worked out pretty well, and it ended up pretty close to the parking structure over here. Actually, I think it worked out pretty well. And see what else is there. The other rides that I get to build in this land coming up would be a submarine ride, and I did not build a second coaster for this land. I don't know if I'm going to. I might not. There's not enough room anymore. So yeah, plans change, and that's okay usually. It's not necessarily a bad thing. So I change my plans quite frequently, especially when it's not really a plan. There's no plan in this park building, and this is my first park, so yeah. There we go, finishing up the wooden coaster and into a brake run, and it supports 2 trains. It's pretty good excitement and stuff like that. And yeah, this is Volcania so far, and there won't be a overview because I actually finished the land. You'll see the rest of it in the second video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.